Good evening. The meeting will now come to order. The primary purpose of our pre-agenda meeting tonight is to review the agenda for our upcoming regular meeting this Tuesday. We set the consent agenda. We will hold public hearings and receive other presentations. Regular meetings focus on action items, departmental reports, and other business. Both meetings are open to the public and are held in the Hilda B. Palmer Boardroom in Town Hall. Please find the meeting agendas, minutes, and a link to view the meeting live or on demand at spencernc.gov. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you may be seated. And we will now have the invocation. We'll wait, Ms. Sledge. Good to see you. Okay, please bow your head. Father, bless this gathering tonight with wisdom, discernment, and the joy of public service as we strive together to better our community. Amen. The floor is now open for our first public hearing regarding a zoning map amendment, specifically rezoning parcel 048-042, located at 2038 North US Highway 29 from IND to VSR. And we will let Mr. Blunt provide us the narrative and the information that we need.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. There we are. This one should be relatively simple and straightforward. This is a parcel at 2038 North US Highway 29 that is currently an automobile dealership, a very small one. And they are selling the property to a new owner. And since they can't sell the business to the new owner, they're having to start over again. And instead of doing a special use permit or a conditional use permit, they have agreed to rezone the property to the proper zoning classification for that use. He plans to continue the use as a car dealership. So I'll give you some visuals here. That little yellow dot is where it's located. And we'll scope in a little bit. You start to see that it is a car dealership. And certainly there you can see clearly it's a car dealership. Has been for a long, long time, at least 10 years. We actually have the original owner, the current owner, we had them notified by code enforcement that they couldn't park those cars that close to the road. They actually can't park them in the right of way of the road. The new owner is aware of that and has no problem with abiding by that regulation. So, again, fairly simple. It's just a matter of rezoning it to the proper zoning classification. But you might remember back in 2023, we did a zoning study for the northern part of US Highway 29 and Salisbury Avenue. And I wanted to remind you that as a part of that process, we recognized that all of that property out there was owned industrial during the last land use planning process. We were actually looking at the actual use of the properties, which is what this slide shows. The gray area we would suggest probably needs to be industrial. They're fairly large lots that can be used for industrial applications. But what we discovered was the small lots along the highway itself were too small for industrial. And therefore we considered those uses that were there because they are not allowed in industrial as legal non-conforming uses, and we considered what they should be rezoned. For the most part, our conclusion was they should be rezoned to what they were being used for now. The residential property should be zoned residential, commercial property should be zoned commercial. and the automobile dealership should be zoned as an automobile dealership. So this is a slide that we presented to you in 2023. An arrow is pointing to the property in question today. And we were suggesting in 2023 that it be rezoned to VSR, and that's what we're bringing to you today for a public hearing. So this is not a new thought process. It's following through with what we have been thinking all along, and this is a step in the right direction from our perspective. Be glad to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr.
Let you have your public hearing. And I will
Okay.
state that it has been properly advertised in the paper twice, posted on the property. The contiguous property owners have been notified by letter. They were invited to a neighborhood meeting, which was held Tuesday. Nobody attended the neighborhood meeting. Again, this is not a controversial rezoning, so nobody's too upset about it.
And we do not have anyone signed up to speak at this public hearing. So, is there anyone present who wishes to speak before the board regarding this public hearing? Okay, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. A second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Sledge. Okay, all in favor? This public hearing is closed. Okay, we are now opening the floor for our second public hearing. And this one regards housing, community development, and economic development needs for the town's fiscal year 2025 community development block grant, neighborhood revitalization application. Okay, and we have Mr. Francis who is going to present some information about this particular hearing.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. I'm speaking on behalf of Kyle Harris tonight. He had another conflict on his schedule and couldn't be here, but I've got some information to share. So as Kyle mentioned last month at our meeting, we are in the process of seeking your authorization to proceed with another round of the CDBG Neighborhood Revitalization Grant. We are seeking $950,000, and if awarded, these funds will allow us to continue our successful housing rehabilitation program and help additional families with urgent home repair needs. So tonight, this is the first of two public hearings on this issue. The second will take place at your regular meeting on Tuesday, and there's a bit of two angles to this. Tonight is more of a hearing about the needs in this area, and then Tuesdays is more specific to the application and the draft that's been published and getting feedback on that. So tonight, again, we'll receive citizen input on housing, community development, and economic development needs. It's the community's opportunity to weigh in on how CDBG funding might be used. And it's important to remember that CDBG funds can only be used for certain eligible activities. These funds must be used to address the needs of low and moderate income households and are primarily intended to support housing rehabilitation efforts, specifically to correct serious health, safety, and structural deficiencies in older homes in Spencer. Any comments received tonight will be captured and incorporated into the draft application. And Tuesday, then staff will present the draft application to the public, and the board will invite additional public feedback at that time. As I mentioned, Kyle Harris had a conflict and couldn't be here tonight, but he will be here on Tuesday and will be available for a presentation and more extensive Q&A. If the public has any specific questions about the program, which we can't answer tonight, we invite you to contact Kyle Harris directly or attend the meeting next Tuesday. And of course, we can get you Kyle's contact information. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to proceed with the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. We do have one person signed up to speak tonight regarding this public hearing, Leslie Talbot. So if you want to come forward and you will, you have the speak your name and the issue that you want
Don't
to
start
sign.
my clock now.
And you will have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Whoa, it's already started.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
using my time. I'm Leslie Talbot. I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission.
There you go.
I live at 308 North Salisbury Avenue, which happens to be Historic District. And I want to say that the Historic Preservation Commission strongly supports this application. It allows us to continue something we started back in 2020. It's for low and moderate income families, many of whom who live in the historic district, who find that the repairs for those houses are beyond their economic means. So this is a perfect opportunity to save those, although I recognize that this money also would go to non-historic homes for families, but that's also preservation because just about every house in Spencer is over 50 years old and qualifies as historic or at least vintage. So we want to save as much as we can because our National Historic District, we're part of the fabric of USA. So we want to save what we can, and we've lost 90 homes in the last 20 years due to age and lack of ability to care for them. So I'm just supporting what we want to do, which is to get this grant money because it's going to save at least 10 homes. Thank you. And by the way, I have a $1 1 minute 2 seconds. Add to the 18 seconds from last time. So next time I speak, I get 5 minutes.
It's a record. Thank you. And thank you for your work with the Historic Preservation.
No, it's like other government stuff. You use it or you lose it.
Yeah. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak before the board regarding this public hearing? Is there a motion to close this public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Alderman Sledge. Second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Miller? Okay. All in favor? Public hearing is closed. Okay, we will now move to the review of the October 14th agenda. Is there anything that you feel should be moved to the consent agenda?
If I may, Mayor Pro Tem, as we go through the items, perhaps there may
Okay,
be
we
some.
can just, okay.
We've put several items on there as a suggestion, and as we proceed through,
Okay,
then y'all
that'll
may
be
decide
fine.
you want to add or subtract.
Okay. Is there a volunteer for the invocation? Okay, thank you, Rasheed. If there is an addition or deletion to the agenda, we can discuss that as we go through it too, I guess.
And we'll usually revisit that on Tuesday. As of now, we don't know any additional
Okay.
items that we'll be bringing for you.
Okay, then let's go to recognitions. Are there any added recognitions that anyone wants to make? I would love for someone to recognize our police department and everyone who worked for the park recognition, official dedication. So who would like to do that?
Steve's raising his finger.
Would you like to do that, Mr. Miller?
Looks like I'm
I just think,
I thought you had your finger up. Were you going to ask a question?
I just thought it was exceptionally well done.
Yes, it was.
And I mean, it was just a wonderful night. So I think we definitely need to recognize the people who made that possible. And see, you probably do know who all of them were, because I'm sure you were up here behind the scenes doing stuff too. So you want to do that, right, Mr. Miller? Thank you. Okay, are there any additional recognitions that anyone wants to make? Okay. In the minutes, are there additional comments for the minutes reviewed by Mrs. Sledge and the board, or do we want to just keep them on the consent agenda?
I think they're fine to leave on consent,
Okay,
unless somebody finds something wrong that they want changed.
okay. Okay, we'll now, go through the agenda, and then we can decide, if we want to change or add or anything like this, or whatever, or put it on the consent agenda. Okay, we'll have our public hearing, which will be to present and receive comments on the fiscal year 2025 Community Development Block Grant, Part 2. Public comment. Then under the consent agenda, we've got the approval of minutes and adopting them. And there are several sets. Okay, number 9, receiving the presentation of
Now,
from,
let's-
okay, yes, ma'am.
We could, like, just go through those things that are on the consent agenda and be sure that we won't leave them on consent.
Sure, and I could go through those at this time. The first two things after the minutes, B and C, those are both items related to legislation that was passed earlier this year that is requiring
Okay.
that we have procedures in place to do a SBI background check for any staff hired starting in October of this year that would have any involvement with children. So that is a new state law that we need to comply with. So there's a resolution and a personnel policy update that has been drafted. It's in the packet that brings us into compliance with those items.
Is that for new hires only, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the item after that, D, is related to the surplus of our old 1995 E1 fire truck. Rowan Cabarrus Community College would like to purchase that from us for $25,000, and we recommend going ahead with that. We've had a variety of methods of trying to solicit interest in that used apparatus, and we believe that's a good price for what it is, and also it will continue to help the program at the community college train future firefighters. So it'll in some ways it'll continue to benefit the town.
Yeah, question. Where does this money go? Does it go in the general budget, or does it go?
Yes, so this money, we actually had programmed revenue in the prior year budget, and then when we couldn't sell it, that was essentially money in last year's budget that we didn't find. Right. So going into this year's budget, we actually didn't. If I'm looking towards Heather, I do not recall that we actually programmed any money for this. So this is going to help us revenue-wise with our fixed asset sales line and our revenues, that we could then identify a place. We can either, right now we don't have a recommended budget amendment for how to add to the budget, in other words, with this revenue. So it will just be income for us, and there may be an opportunity that we bring before you with a budget amendment that would recognize. Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, it's a net positive on our cash. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, and then the item after that, we have determined that a number of job descriptions or class specifications is another way to describe those for our fire department needed to be updated related to some of the special requirements for various trainings. So we've gotten those. That's what that item is to make those changes to bring them in line with our current structure and the current expectations. And then the final one is related to an item that our auditors have helped us realize that we needed to come into compliance related to some electronic payments, and also for dispersing public funds electronically. The technical the law says technically anytime we're doing these sorts of things, there needs to be a pre-audit and a disbursement certificate, and this is a way of making sure we've got the procedures in place to do that, even though it doesn't go through the formal payment and check process when it's electronic payments. So again, this is a way to make sure we're in compliance with state law.
We have already been doing some of that. Is that correct?
We've been doing
Payroll is direct deposit.
yes. Now, but this is not really about payroll. It's more about the we have certain payments that, and it's really limited, but we have certain payments that happen through an electronic payment rather than a check disbursement. And so, again, those are limited, but we want to make sure that we're in compliance with that.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions about the consent agenda? Okay, moving from that, number 9, receive presentation from group insurance renewal rates for 25-26. And then consider approving the group insurance renewal rates for the same years. Then consider adopting number 11, ordinance 2511-004, appropriating $2,500 for bike lane stripping.
Striping. Yep.
Striping, sorry. I don't know why I had stripping on my mind. And then number 12, consider.
Clean the floors, maybe?
Yeah, stripping the floors. Okay, consider, number 12, consider adopting ordinance 2511-005, accepting $11,857 Safety First Grant from the Norfolk Southern Railroad and authorizing the town manager to execute the grant agreement.
That's for the drone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 13, consider adopting ordinance 25-19, amending the town's official zoning map dated September the 10th, 2024, rezoning Rowan County GIS system parcel number 048042, located at 2038 US Highway 29. Zoning, changing it from IND classification to VSR zoning.
The next.
That's from what we talked about today.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next 3 items after that are all related to the CDBG application.
Okay. Okay. And then do I need to read those 14, 15, and 16? Or since you stated what they were related to?
Yes, we'll be going over them all
Okay.
on Tuesday.
Okay. Okay, then consider approving water sewer extension policy application for SRU funding, number 17.
And this was the item you heard about from Steve Blunt last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Followed by number 18, departmental reports. And those will be reports from planning, code enforcement, police, fire, public works, finance, and active living. And town manager report. And then we'll receive requests and comments by the mayor and board members, and executive session if we need to go into one, with adjournment following. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the agenda or added or changed in location?
Should we include library with active living or count it separately?
Well, it is included.
Just
That yes, that
It's involved in
that term refers to both our library and our parks and recreation efforts.
okay.
Okay. Any other comments or changes? Anything that needs to be added? We haven't thought of anything at this point. Okay, then the agenda is set.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, second. Okay, all in favor? Okay, agenda is approved and set. Okay, is there a need to go into executive session tonight? Okay. Then we are reaching adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howe. Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. All in favor? The meeting is adjourned.